or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Rick Lawrence, and for the next hour I'll be reading from current issues of the Niagara Gazette on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Here from the August 7th edition, as we work our way towards the present date, here's a headline: Live Incorporated, taking over Hard Rock Cafe. Mike DiCienzo's company to run Falls location beginning September 1st, by Robert Creenan at NiagaraGazette.com. For the first time in 3 decades, the Niagara Falls Hard Rock Cafe will be under new management. Live Incorporated, the entertainment company that operates the live on-air helium balloon ride and plans to renovate the former Howard Johnson Hotel, is acquiring the franchise to run the restaurant from the parent company Hard Rock International with a 20-year agreement. It had owned and operated the themed restaurant since its 1996 opening across from Niagara Falls State Park. The management change will be effective September 1st. We are incredibly honored that Hard Rock has entrusted us with this historic opportunity, said Live Incorporated President Michael DiCienzo. Hard Rock Cafe has been a part of Niagara Falls for nearly 3 decades, and our goal is simply to preserve everything guests and employees love while investing in its future. The restaurant has a capacity of approximately 250 patrons and a private event space with a 350-person capacity. It has around 75 employees who would be retained. All of Live Incorporated's other ventures incorporate some entertainment aspect, with their planned new Tribute by Marriott Hotel at 472 Main Street to feature live musicians, live painters, and food presentations. DiCienzo's American Niagara Hospitality also owns the Niagara Falls Sheraton and Wyndham Garden Hotels and Rainforest Cafe, with a new steel-bound brewery and distillery opening inside the Sheraton this past May, also featuring live music. Live Incorporated is exactly the type of partner we're looking for, said Eric Martino, president of Hard Rock Cafes. Their long-standing commitment to Niagara Falls, proven operational success, and passion for creating memorable guest experiences make them an outstanding steward for this location. Hard Rock's energy and Live Incorporated vision are a natural fit, and we're excited about what the future holds. Here in that same Friday, October 7, 2026 edition, the headline, New Concerns, 99th Street Family Leaving Home After Testing Finds Hazardous Contaminants, by Robert Creenan. It shows a photograph on the first page of the backyard of the McKinnons, which has dirt pretty much widespread after the DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation, removed and excavated dirt there last week and replaced it with vinyl linings covered with topsoil. Testing done on the site found high levels of heavy metals and carcinogenic materials on the property, the family said on Thursday. The subheading is the 99th Street Family Leaving Home After Testing Finds Hazardous Contaminants. The McKiernans have received DEC testing results from their 99th Street backyard, and the findings have prompted the family to look for a new place to live. The results show their 99th Street property has dangerous levels of lead, copper, liquor, and hexavalent chromium, with other metals like aluminum and antimony possibly present. It might be antimony. For lead alone, testing found 9,700 milligrams per kilogram of soil, many times above the Environmental Protection Agency's accepted safe lead level of 200 milligrams per kilogram for soil. None of this was disclosed to my husband when he bought the house, said Jocelyn McKiernan, who has lived near the infamous Love Canal site with 3 children since 2021, and her husband Dan a year before. He actually dug up our disclosure agreement, and it says NA to everything that was here. Not applicable, no doubt. According to the testing results reviewed by the McKiernans, chemicals including DDE, DDT, chlordane, endosulfan, phenanthyrine, and 4,4-DDD were also identified. All of these materials can release vapors that seep into the home, potentially causing health risks. The McKiernans said DEC officials told them they would not share the results with their neighbors because they do not know for sure all the contaminants they're dealing with and where they came from. McKiernan herself suffered five miscarriages in her time in the home since they installed a sump pump in their basement. Their oldest son, they said, who was in special needs, started having seizures shortly after that with swelling in his brain. The other children have also suffered from unexplained rashes and infections. Fluorescent hydrocarbons were found coming through their sump pump, which glow when put under UV light, as well as black sludge. A few of McKiernan's neighbors have also smelled similar vapors in their homes and have fluorescent hydrocarbons in their basements. Two neighbors' dogs also experienced seizures, and one neighbor's dog did die, they said. We have found one or two rods in the past that really never caught our attention before, Dan said. The McKiernans first called the DEC about the issue in mid-July when they uncovered rods and other underground debris during excavation work for their pool. The representative from the DEC spill response team was the first to visit the property, with tests on dirt piles found to be under safe limits. DEC staff members visited the property last week to perform further testing, remove the largest pile of dirt there, cover part of the soil in vinyl wrapping, and place sand, topsoil, and gardening fabric in the area surrounding the pool. The couple has been looking with Kristen Civiletto, the local environmental attorney, who has also advised Town of Niagara homeowners found to have unsafe radiation readings on their properties. We have a whole range of Love Canal organics, and they're also showing up inside their house, Civiletto said, noting that the chemicals found have not been manufactured since the 1970s. As part of further work on the property, the DEC proposed geoprobe testing, land surveys, groundwater testing, indoor air quality testing, and other excavation work since more rods were discovered underneath the back deck, according to the McKiernans. Dan said they are working on finding a place to relocate to, which has not been an easy task since they need a place that can accommodate their special needs son. I don't want to be here over again, Dan said, adding that they would do whatever it takes to get somewhere safe for their children to start healing. Over the past 3 weeks, the McKiernans have also sent letters to Governor Kathy Hochul, State Senator Robert Ort, the EPA, and other individuals, urging them for more help. They have not received any responses. Here's some Bills training camp update news from the August 2nd sports section of the Niagara Gazette. Leonard says Bills' top 3 linebackers will have roles in defense. This is the training camp update. Gardner Johnson returns to practice in full. Article by Nick Sabato of the newspaper. Out of Pittsford, New York, Dorian Williams or Caban Airlines or experience or upside. That's what the assumed competition was supposed to be, as the Buffalo Bills searched for an inside linebacker to pair with Terrell Bernard. Elam's Orr was getting the most of the first-team reps early in camp as Williams slowly worked his way back from bilateral knee fractures, while Williams has been with the first team over the last 3 practices. Bills defensive coordinator Jim Leonard didn't shy away from the idea of a competition Thursday, but he also acknowledged there won't necessarily be a winner and a loser. The Bills have rotated 3 linebackers literally throughout the 11-on-11 sessions, as Bernard is still ramping up the off-season ankle injury. But the Bills have also shown different looks with their linebackers. Buffalo has played 3-4, nickel, dime, and even a 5-man front with one linebacker as they gradually dig deeper into Leinard's playbook. And it's nothing new for Williams, who frequently played on the line of scrimmage on the third downs for Sean McDermott over his first 3 seasons. There's going to be roles for all of them, Leonard said. They can all play, and they all have a little bit different skill sets. It's exciting to see them go more. They want to go. They don't want to leave the field. They want to get as many reps as possible. Bernard acknowledged the Bills are still in the infancy of Leonard's playbook. We haven't seen any exotic blitzes or players lined up in places offenses don't expect, and likely won't during training camp. That includes outside linebacker Michael Hecht, who is expected to be used in different packages, but has played sparingly in 11-on-11 sessions while recovering from Achilles surgery. But Leonard has drawn strong reviews from players in his ability to explain what the Bills are doing and why. Part of that is his ability as a coach, but also has 10 years of NFL experience as a player. Quote, him having that background as a former player and understanding what we're going through and the challenges of what we do, I think that's a big help with our mindset, Bernard said. Quote, and then obviously he's been coaching a long time now, so there's that aspect of it too, close quote. Leonard, meanwhile, praised the communication skills of his top 3 linebackers. In McDermott's defense, Bernard frequently directed traffic, but the safeties were also a big part of the communication. For Leonard's defense, the linebackers do most of the communication. Bernard struggled at times with that last year as a former coaching staff had a large menu of checks based on the offense, and calls were sometimes delayed in the huddle. The new coaching staff loved Bernard's ability to see the field and communicate what he sees to coaches after the play. He's already earned enough respect to speak his mind freely and chats with Leonard 15 minutes per day before practice. Quote, he's been in this position long enough as a vet that he can come back to the sideline and tell me, hey man, this doesn't feel right, Bills inside linebackers coach John Irgrow said. He's earned that type of respect. It's great having him around because I can also bounce ideas off of him. He has a great perspective being on the field to articulate back to me. Another item of this same column, 5 days after fearing a torn Achilles tendon, safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson returned to practice Thursday. Although he declined to confirm it, Gardner-Johnson was reported to have a low calf strain, a diagnosis that usually keeps a player out multiple weeks. Gardner-Johnson missed only 2 practices and was a full participant in practice, returning to his place on the first-team defense. I think it's more being mature, Gardner-Johnson said, understanding it's early in the year. It wasn't no season-ending injury, so just really staying focused, he said. Gardner-Johnson did take time to address Buffalo's Week 1 opponent, the Houston Texans. He was released after 3 games with the Texans, all losses, last year, amid reports he clashed with teammates. Gardner-Johnson reportedly had a verbal exchange with Texans safety Kamari Lassiter after a late Week 3 touchdown against the Jackson Jaguars. He also had a verbal altercation with cornerback Derek Stingley Jr. After Gardner-Johnson was released, Texans head coach DeMeco Ryan said it was, quote, in the best interest of the team, close quote. Quote, they released me because I wasn't gelling with the team and I didn't fit well, Gardner-Johnson said. Well, why the hell didn't the coach speak up about it? After the loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars, they decided I didn't fit well. We was already starting 0-3, so how can it possibly be on one person? Close quote. Gardner-Johnson and Cole Bishop were the first 2 safeties during 11-on-11s. Geno Stone came in for dime packages. Stone had been rotated with Damar Hamlin on the first team during Gardner-Johnson's absence. Wide receiver Keon Coleman had a pair of drops. One came in one-on-one drills where Coleman beat cornerback Christian Benford down the sideline but couldn't catch the ball. He also beat rookie cornerback Davidson Ignabidnosum over the middle during 11-on-11s, but he couldn't snag a Josh Allen pass that was slightly behind him. Receiver Joshua Palmer and Ingbinison briefly got into a shoving match. Receiver Magdalena missed practice with an undisclosed injury. He was the only player missing Thursday. The Bills signed linebacker Otis Reese IV and released Demetrius Flanagan Fowles with an injury settlement. Reese played for the Tennessee Titans in 2023 and 2024 before being released last year. He spent 2 weeks on Buffalo's practice squad from September 23, 2025 to October 7th. He spent the remainder of the season on the New England Patriots practice squad. Moving forward, this from the Saturday and Sunday, August 8, 9 issue. Under investigation is the headline. There's a large photograph of the Niagara Falls Fire Department truck number 1 spraying water onto a burning 12th Street home Thursday night. This past 2 weeks ago, Niagara Falls police, detectives, and fire inspectors are working to determine the cause of a suspicious fire at a vacant 12th Street home. Falls firefighters, along with police and EMS, responded to the 300 block of 12th Street around 9:45 p.m. Thursday for a structure fire. Firefighters arrived on scene to heavy smoke and flames showing from the address 354 12th Street, and were advised that a woman could still be seen inside the home. Firefighters made a push inside the house to extinguish the fire and conduct a search for the woman. Fire conditions inside the house deteriorated, and all firefighters were evacuated. Firefighters continued to fight the fire from the outside until fire conditions improved. The woman was later located safe outside the home. According to reports at the scene, police were able to locate housing for the woman and a man who were reportedly squatting at the address. The fire is being investigated as an arson, according to police at the scene. You're listening to a reading of articles and features from the Niagara Gazette on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Here's an article entitled Murder Conviction Overturned in Falls Homicide. One of 2 men convicted in slaying of Poppy Alsed will get new trial, by Rick Pfeiffer. Out of Lockport, one of 2 men found guilty of the murder of popular South End deli owner Ahmad Poppy Alsed has had his conviction overturned by a state appeals court. A 5-judge panel of the New York State Court Appellate Division, 4th Department, ruled that the now-retired Supreme Court Justice Richard Clark, Sr. failed to give the jury that convicted William Coleman proper instructions on how to weigh the value of circumstantial evidence in the case, what is known as a circumstantial evidence charge. As a result of that finding, the appeals court threw out Coleman's convictions on 2 counts of second-degree murder, 5 counts of first-degree robbery, 2 counts of criminal possession of a weapon in the second degree, and 1 count of second-degree assault. The court ordered that Coleman, quotes, is entitled to a new trial, close quote. Coleman, 36 of the Falls, returned to Niagara County Court Thursday morning. Judge John Ottaviano ordered him held without bail and set a schedule for pretrial proceedings in the case. The conviction of Coleman's co-defendant and uncle, Jonathan McEnnis, 41 of Buffalo, was unanimously upheld by a different panel of 4th Department justices. McEnnis continues to serve a prison term of 115 years to life for his convictions on 2 counts of second-degree murder, 5 counts of first-degree robbery, 2 counts of second-degree criminal possession of a weapon, and 1 count of first-degree assault. McEnnis and Coleman were each on parole at the time of Alsed's murder after serving 10 years in prison on charges related to a violent robbery in Buffalo. Their defense team asked Clark to set aside their conviction, but the judge refused, saying that jurors told him after their verdict that the evidence in the case against McEnnis and Coleman had been, quotes, overwhelming. Here, another article from Saturday, Sunday, August 8, 9 Gazette. Judge orders Niagara Falls to pay NFR. Directs city comptroller to cut check for $4.029 million as part of lawsuits settlement, by by Rick Pfeiffer. A New York State Supreme Court justice has ended the debate over how and when Niagara Falls will pay a $4.029 million settlement sum to South End landowner Niagara Falls Redevelopment. Justice Deborah Chimes has issued an order directing that the city comptroller shall pay the settlement sum to, quotes, or to parentheses, NFR's attorneys, close parentheses, out of the city's unassigned fund balance by no later than 5 p.m. on August 19, 2026. The order had been requested by NFR's attorneys after a July 31st deadline to make the payment passed without the city taking any action. Chimes conducted a conference with attorneys for NFR and the city's special counsel for the Centennial Park project on Monday. During that conference, NFR attorney John Horn submitted a draft of the order to Chimes, who signed it on Tuesday. The court order ends a month-long stalemate among members of the Falls City Council over paying the settlement, which resolved years of litigation between the Falls and NFR, and will clear the way for the development of both the proposed Centennial Park project and the potential Niagara Digital Campus. Councilmember James Perry, Democrat, who supports the Centennial Park project, said he was pleased to see the settlement terms move forward. "I'm happy to hear that it's been done," he said. Member Vincent Cawley, Republican, who opposed the city's use of eminent domain to acquire property from NFR, took issue with Chimes' order. "That court order is fine, but I still request that the money come out of casino funds," Cawley said. Asked how that could be accomplished, Cawley said, "Well, she's the judicial branch and I'm the legislative branch, and we control the budget." The council chair said that the next step for the Centennial Park project is to determine whether to create a local development corporation to oversee it. He said the council will insist that it have a majority say over the LDC. In further local news, the headline, "Man Struck and Killed on Niagara Falls Boulevard. Niagara Falls Police Investigators Looking for Witnesses to Crash." There's a picture of the Niagara Falls Crash Investigation Unit working the scene of this collision, showing their yellow Jeep and a camera, and it looks like some survey equipment where they apparently attempt to get further information on the pedestrian and the Jeep that hit this pedestrian. The article reads, "Niagara Falls Police Looking for Witnesses to Crash." This is from Staff Reports and includes the following. A 50-year-old man was killed Thursday night after being struck by a vehicle while in the roadway at Niagara Falls Boulevard, according to Niagara Falls Police. The collision occurred on the 8100 block of the boulevard around 9:30 p.m. A 2016 Jeep, driven by an 18-year-old female from the town of Niagara, was heading west on the boulevard when it struck a 50-year-old man in the roadway. The man was thrown forward and sustained life-threatening injuries. He was rushed to Niagara Falls Memorial Medical Center, where he died of his injuries. A portion of Niagara Falls Boulevard was closed for approximately 3 hours while the scene was surveyed. The driver of the Jeep, who claimed no injuries, remained unseen and cooperated in the investigation. Any witnesses to the crash are asked to contact the Crash Investigation Unit at telephone number 716-286-4565 or the non-emergency number at 716-286-4711. It was the second serious accident involving a pedestrian and a car on Niagara Falls Boulevard in a week. A pedestrian was struck about 10:30 p.m. Saturday near the Williams Road intersection. The pedestrian was taken by ambulance to Mount St. Mary's Hospital, then flown to Erie County Medical Center, where they continue to recover. The Niagara County Sheriff's Office Accident Investigation Unit is investigating that accident. There's another case, an accident case of local interest, entitled "Struck Utility Pole Friday, Disables Area Traffic Lights. Driver of Pickup Transported to Local Hospital After Crash," by Tidy Trishelle Light. Interesting coincidence of her name. Traffic lights in central Niagara County were without power Friday after a driver struck a utility pole in Cambria. Cambria Fire Chief Roger Schrader said a driver in his 40s lost control of his pickup truck on Route 31 between Sabara and Meal Roads on Friday morning. Schrader said the vehicle rolled over after entering the ditch and struck a utility pole that is a main line for power distribution in Lockport, Sanborn, and Pendleton areas. Schrader said the driver, whose name was withheld, was conscious and transported by an ambulance to the local hospital. There were no passengers or other vehicles involved. Schrader said he did not believe driving conditions were a factor in the accident. The charge from a fallen electrical line ignited a gasoline fire, which Schrader said had mostly burned out when Cambria firefighters arrived at the scene. The power line remained on top of the vehicle, Schrader said, but was determined to no longer have a charge. With the driver's side of the vehicle in the ditch, Schrader said firefighters removed the back windshield to remove the driver. Here's a feature in the national section, but of definite local interest. Headline: Poll: Some U.S. adults are using AI for financial guidance, but few trust it. By Adriana Morga, Associated Press, New York. Some U.S. adults are using artificial intelligence for financial guidance, but it's far from the most trusted source of advice, according to a new Gallup survey conducted in partnership with Edward Jones, a financial services firm. There's a picture of the keyboard of a computer, very sort of condensed within the text here, showing, among other things, ChatGPT is one of the keys on this computer keyboard, along with certain other, the weather, camera, certain other icons that signify different functions of the computer. Or it could even be a picture of the close-up of an iPhone or other portable phone keyboard that you would see, if you look closely at it and enlarge the size. So some U.S. adults are using it, but it's far from the most trusted source. About 1 in 5 Americans who have sought financial advice in the past year turned to AI, the survey found. But among U.S. adults overall, only about 3 in 10 have a great deal or some confidence in its expertise for managing money, according to the survey, including just 3% who trust AI a great deal. As the use of AI increases, financial experts say consumers should be cautious about fully trusting these tools. Using AI as a tool at the start of a learning journey and then combining this knowledge with other trusted sources can be the best way to engage with new and traditional financial guidance tools, says Taha Chokhanmani, Associate Professor at MIT's Sloan School of Management. I would encourage people to use AI to explain and define, Chokhanmani said. If you're interested in knowing what the stock market is, what the difference between a mutual fund and an index fund is, using AI to explain these concepts can be very useful because it can empower people to get the most out of these methods. Most Americans have sought financial guidance from at least one source in the past year, the survey found. In addition to those who said they used internet research, financial advisors, or AI, 35% went to a parent, sibling, or relative, while 26% got information from news, media, or social media. About 2 in 10 said they turned to a friend, or an author, speaker, or influencer, and fewer relied on an employer or retirement plan provider, a robo-advisor, or a teacher or professor. Younger generations are more likely to say they used AI for financial advice, while older adults are more likely to have turned to a professional financial advisor. Affordability can often deter younger adults from hiring a financial advisor. While doing research online, asking family and friends, and using AI can have minimal costs, hiring a professional can require a bigger financial commitment. About a quarter of Gen Z and millennial adults who looked for financial advice in the past year went to AI, compared to 16% of Gen Xers and just 7% of baby boomers. But while only 14% of Gen X adults and 21% of millennials who sought guidance turned to a professional financial advisor, that rose to 34% of Gen X adults and about half, 55%, of baby boomers. Since AI interacts with specific user prompts, the advice can vary depending on how questions are asked, but asking general questions about personal finance can help people understand complex financial terms. Chuck Money also recommends asking AI to provide references to trusted sources to verify the information provided. While AI can be utilized for research, some financial experts are skeptical about the legal responsibilities of the technology. Certified financial planners have a legal responsibility to give the most fitting advice, while AI tools don't. Ultimately, the decisions a person makes based on AI advice are their responsibility. Here's an article of interest with regard to happenings at the Keenan Center. 6 local veterans will be highlighting experiences at a special August 16 event, which you may be aware of and may be pertinent to you if you hear this broadcast on or before that time. 6 local veterans will be speaking, sharing stories of Vietnam, and the staff reporting of this event goes like this. What do a former Niagara County sheriff, popular author, Niagara County legislator, prominent local attorney, successful businessman, and town supervisor have in common? They are all Vietnam veterans who will be participating in the upcoming special Vietnam Veterans Roundtable at 2 p.m. on August 16th in the Keenan Center's Taylor Theater. The Veterans Roundtable is a special program presented in conjunction with, quotes, "I was there, unknown stories of Vietnam," close quote, an immersive exhibit exploring the diverse experiences of those whose lives were shaped by the Vietnam War. Through photographs, personal stories, artifacts, and oral histories, the exhibition highlights perspectives that have often gone untold. The roundtable will bring together 6 local Vietnam veterans representing all branches of the U.S. Armed Services. Through a moderated conversation, participants will share their personal experiences of military service during the Vietnam War, reflecting on the challenges they faced, the bonds they formed, and the lasting impact of their service. Jumping ahead to the August 11th edition, where I read to you the article about the finding of some backyard contamination that the DEC was looking at from a McTiernan family backyard on 99th Street. This article is entitled "A New Night Gym." It shows a lineup of council members who are listening to city youth who are lined up on stage offering ideas for a night gym program, by Rick Pfeiffer. Looking out over the roughly 50 adults and teens in the Henry J. Kalfas Elementary School gym Monday evening, Falls City Council member Bridget Miles said she was struck by the memories that the view triggered. "I remember night gym when I was growing up," she said. "It was a safe place to go and burn off some energy." Now the first-time council member is trying to revive the Falls Night Gym program with a $15,000 seed money grant and brainstorming sessions between teens and adults on what that program should look like. "We all have gifts and talents," Miles said. "We're asking people to put down their names and ideas, and then we'll gather them and see where we go." Monday's meeting was intended to be the first of several that will shape a night gym program that will begin at Kalfas in the fall. Representatives from a host of community organizations explained what they could provide while meeting with members of the City Council's Youth Advisory Council and their Youth Ambassador Program. Gregory Palmer at Niagara Falls SNUG told the teens that his organization seeks to reduce gun violence among youth by taking them, quotes, off of street corners, close quote. They're hanging on those street corners, selling drugs, because it looks attractive to them, Palmer said. We're working to make those street corners unattractive. Miles has described her plan as an inner-city youth night gym program. The program would be designed for youth between the ages of 12 and 15 and complement a city-funded young youth engagement effort of the Niagara Falls Boys and Girls Club. In addition to partnering with the Niagara Falls School District, Miles said, her program is seeing community engagement across the city. We need to rebuild the night gym, and it is possible to do it, Miles said. The council member also said that using a school building will remove transportation barriers and ensure that no young person is left out of the pilot experience because it is not accessible. I'm going to hit the streets with my microphone and notepad and listen to all of the feedback that I am able to gather, she said. You're listening to a reading of articles and features from the Niagara Gazette on the Niagara Frontier radio reading service. Speaking of features, here's one on Niagara Discoveries. The headline reads, "The Bristol Fountain was originally on Big Bridge," by Anne Marie Linneberry, a look back at the old days in Niagara County and Lockport, New York. Over the years, people have inquired about a fountain that was originally located on the Big Bridge, but was later moved to West Avenue Park, now Ida Fritz Park, where it stood until at least 1968. There's a picture of the stereoscope card that was out in around 1880 that shows the Bristol Fountain when it was located on Big Bridge. It's a very beautiful structure, too, and you see some other vintage structures in the background. This is from the Niagara County's Historical Society. The story begins in 1872 with Lockport dentist Dr. Lawrence Wade, L.W. Bristol. Dr. L.W. Bristol, Bristol, was born in Connecticut in 1816, came to Lockport in 1839, and opened a, quote, dental infirmary, quote, on Niagara Street next to the Congregational Church across the street from the present-day fire station. He married Lavinia Harrington of Lockport in 1845, but she died 5 years later, leaving him with a young daughter. Bristol married again in 1852 to Sophronia Sadler, also of Lockport, and they had 3 children. It was Dr. Bristol who tended to the injured when the Congregational Church was struck by lightning during the Lockport cyclone of May 1853. On March 12, 1872, Sophronia Bristol died while still in her 40s with 2 minor children at home. In the fall of 1872, it was announced that a new fountain would be placed in a small park-like setting near the bridge that joined Main Street with West Main Street across from Judson House, later the Kenmore and Locks Plaza hotels. At that time, the bridge span was 105 feet wide, but it did not connect with Cottage Street Bridge. The fountain was a gift to the city from Dr. L.W. Bristol and became known as the Bristol Fountain. As Mrs. Bristol had passed away only a few months before, he may have given the fountain in her memory. Although the fountain was ornate, it was also practical. The basin was intended to be a public horse trough. There were other troughs in the city, but none more decorative than the Bristol Fountain. By late September, water was flowing in the basin, and a month later, the fountain itself was installed. The papers reported many delighted spectators stopping to take a second look at the fountain. For the first few years after it was installed, there were few, if any, complaints about the fountain, but beginning in 1876, some negative comments began to appear in the papers. On August 22, 1876, the Lockport Daily Journal, after reporting that the sign had been placed at a fountain to keep off the grass, added that the extreme nastiness of the scum upon the water is enough to deter anyone from near approach. Over the next couple of years, the fountain was often praised in the papers but also criticized, usually because it wasn't working. The Bristol Fountain keeps up an appearance of summer, 1877. The Bristol Fountain sprinkleth merrily, 1878. The Bristol Fountain is not in active operation, 1879. Time for the Bristol Fountain to put in an appearance, 1880. The horses say they couldn't get along at all now without the water trough at the Bristol Fountain, 1881. And this commentary in the Lockport Daily Journal that same year, quote, since the Common Council undertook to run the Bristol Fountain, they have made a poor fiat of it. Better return to the doctor's supervision, close quote. By 1882, there was talk about moving the fountain to a different location. Some suggestions were realistic, such as relocating it to another park or to the intersection of Main and Locust Streets, where it could still be used as a horse trough. Others were more tongue-in-cheek. Quote, there is considerable talk about moving the big bridge up between the Hodge Opera House and the American Hotel and putting the Bristol Fountain in the post office, close quote. In the spring of 1883, it was reported, quote, the Bristol Fountain fails to spout again, close quote, and there were calls for it to at least be painted to improve its appearance. By June, the momentum was building that the Bristol Fountain should be removed to the city park without delay. So by May 1884, the Bristol Fountain was flowing in West Avenue Park, but because it wasn't in the heart of the bustling city, it became a target for vandals, and the city police were asked to monitor the park and arrest any trespassers. Here is some political news of local interest. Ocasio-Cortez says she's deciding her next political move, by Bill Barrow of the Associated Press. A small photograph of Ms. Ocasio-Cortez appears in this article, speaking at the New York Civil Liberty Union's May Day rally for workers and immigrants at Foley Square in New York. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says she is freezing her egg if she decides her next political moves ahead of the 2028 presidential campaign. This is a choice that I am making to feel more in control of my life, Ocasio-Cortez, 36, said on Instagram about her decision regarding her reproductive options. The New York Congresswoman, a leading figure of Democrats' progressive left flank, did not say explicitly whether she plans to have children. She said in her social media post that she was taking a political risk in talking so personally about her potential family plans. She said later on ABC's This Week on Sunday that she has not ruled out running for president or for the U.S. Senate seat held by Democrats' floor leader Chuck Schumer of New York in 2028. She explained that she wants to normalize conversations about what women face in their professional and personal lives, while also highlighting the policies of President Donald Trump's administration. Quote, in this political environment, where this administration is denying reproductive care to women across the country, from abortion rights to the ability to carry out a healthy pregnancy, I think it's important for us as leaders to have these conversations, she said, close quote. Trump's administration opposes abortion rights, and the Republican president's first-term appointees to the Supreme Court provided the margins in the 2022 ruling that struck down the Roe v. Wade decision that had established a constitutional right to terminate a pregnancy. Separately, however, Trump in 2025 signed an executive order designed to lower the costs of in vitro fertilization. Let me read that again. He signed an executive order designed to lower the cost of in vitro fertilization. Ocasio-Cortez sponsored a Democratic bill in 2022 when the party controlled the House to codify abortion rights into federal law after the Supreme Court's abortion decision. As part of her weekend announcement, Ocasio-Cortez noted that women in politics and other fields face different standards and scrutiny about their family status. Moving now back and forth between issues of the Niagara Gazette, here is one in the August 11th issue on the front page. It reads, Amazon asking county IDA for $3 million more in incentives. Project has already been awarded nearly $124 million. Then there is a picture on the front page of a parking lot which shows earlier exterior construction at Amazon's $550 million fulfillment center, showing that exterior construction stage is complete, with tool installation currently taking place inside the facility. And it shows a rather large parking lot with a pretty large four-story contemporary-looking building adjacent to the car parking area taken by Robert Creenan. The project, with its new Niagara County Fulfillment Center at 8995 Lockport Road almost ready to open, Amazon is requesting an additional $3 million in sales tax incentives from the Niagara County Industrial Developmental Center. In a letter sent to the agency last week, Amazon's Director of Economic Development, Brad Griggs, asked that the amount of incentives be increased to $26 million, from $26 million to $29 million. And incidentally, again, this article is part of the reading of articles and features from the Niagara Gazette on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Griggs said that since the county ID's initial approval of nearly $124 million in various tax incentives, the construction scope increased due to advancements in material handling equipment systems and updates to the new generation facility design, which resulted in $37.5 million in additional purchases beyond what was stated in Amazon's initial application. That amount would put construction costs for the town of Niagara Center at around $587.5 million. Quote, this request is driven by the evolving operation requirements of the facility as well as broader cost pressures during the construction period, close quote, Griggs' letter says. That's again Amazon's Director of Economic Development, Brad Griggs. For the reasons above, we respectfully request an additional $3 million in sales tax exemption benefit to account for the increased construction scope and associated cost escalation. The matter will be considered and will be part of the business of Wednesday's IDA meeting. IDA Board Chairman Jason Krempka said they would need to balance its benefit to the community with the overall cost of this abatement. Quote, we have to look and balance what was invested versus what they're asking for, Krempka said. He added that from everything he had been told, the project scope had only grown. The IDA initially approved its tax incentive package in August 2022, which was made up of $94 million in property tax exemptions and $3.55 million in mortgage recording tax exemptions, in addition to the original $26 million in sales tax exemptions. Amazon had also agreed to pilot, P-I-L-O-T, payments valued at $49 million over 15 years, paying $9.5 million per year in taxes after that. As for this $3.1 million square foot facility on 216 acres of land near the Niagara Falls International Airport, had drawn criticism from local residents, former Amazon workers, and watchdog groups throughout its development phase. According to the organization Good Jobs First, which tracks the subsidies that Amazon receives, Niagara County's award stands as the 11th largest they have received in the United States. Other distribution centers in the Rochester and Syracuse areas had the Monroe County IDA give over $150 million in incentives, and the Onondaga County IGA give out $70.8 million, both over 15-year periods. Incentive packages in the states of Indiana, Oregon, Mississippi, and Virginia to build out data centers have surpassed the amount the Niagara facility is getting. Common complaints from residents about this have included the greater number of Amazon trucks going by their houses, the average pay rate of about $15 per hour not being enough to live on, and that giving out tax breaks is not a major factor for where Amazon decides to build a warehouse. Also in Griggs's letter, he said that the new fulfillment center is scheduled to open either in the third or fourth quarter this year, with their goal of hiring 1,000 new employees starting as soon as this month. The company, had worked with over 2,906 construction workers and caused around $13 million in off-site infrastructural improvements, including 3.6 miles of road improvements, utility upgrades, and moving utility poles. Among Amazon's other investments in Niagara County are paying to employee tuition at SUNY Niagara and contributing $500,000 to the town of Niagara for sewer improvements. Here are from staff reports in the August 11th article version of the Gazette is the article headed North Tonawanda receives $1.5 million from the state for new Oliver Street stormwater system. There's a picture of the state capitol in New York up at the top of the article, and it reads, North Tonawanda has received a portion of $430 million awarded by the state to make water and sewer infrastructure improvement for projects more affordable for communities nationwide. The Environmental Facilities Corporation Board of Directors approved low-cost financing and state and federal grants that empower local governments to modernize aging systems without passing higher costs on to local ratepayers. These investments protect public health and the environment, reduce future risks, and support good-paying jobs. Quotes, affordability means investing before problems become crises. Quote, Governor Kathy Hochul said, that's why we're making historic investments to help communities modernize their water infrastructure, protect public health, and keep costs low for families across New York. In looking at these grants, the funding is provided through 1. The Clean Water and Drinking Water State Revolving Funds, a mix of state and federal dollars that deliver more than $1 billion in low-cost financing and grants annually to New York communities. 2. The state's Water Infrastructure Improvement and Intermunicipal Water Infrastructure Grants. These are proven vehicles for affordability that have saved ratepayers more than $8.3 billion statewide since 2015. And 3, the state's Green Resiliency Grants, launched by Governor Hochul in 2023 to protect New Yorkers from the impacts of extreme weather, with $121 million awarded to date. Here in religious-oriented news is the headline, Making the Rounds in Niagara County. Niagara Gospel Mission leaders complete a 113-mile ruck march. There are 2 young men pictured in a picture in this article of Niagara Gospel Mission Executive Director John Cooper Jr. and Operations Director Dave DiTullio after finishing their Niagara County March this past weekend. They look like they're giving the thumbs up to the photographer with their knapsacks on their backs and standing in shorts with smiles on their faces. After 6 days and 113 miles, Niagara Gospel Mission Executive Director John Cooper Jr. and Operations Director Dave DiTullio, just mentioned in the picture, completed the We Love Niagara County Ruck March, R-U-C-K March, Saturday evening at Hennepin View in Niagara Falls State Park. John and Dave began their journey Monday morning at Niagara Gospel Mission and rucked the perimeter of Niagara County to raise awareness of homelessness and addiction, highlight the mission's commitment to serving people throughout the county, and raise $20,000 to support the work of Niagara Gospel Mission. Throughout the journey, the people of Niagara County showed tremendous support. Residents encouraged John and Dave along the route, offered food and water, prayed for them, honked as they passed, followed their progress online, and gave toward the campaign. "The people of Niagara County were incredible to us," said Cooper. "We called this the We Love Niagara County Ruck March because we love the people who call this county home. After 113 miles, we love this community even more." While the 113-mile march is officially complete, the fundraising goal is not quite finished. Niagara Gospel Mission set out to raise $20,000 through the ruck, and it is now incredibly close to reaching that goal. Those who would like to help John and Dave cross the final finish line can make a gift at https://secure.fundieasy.com/mission tries sync, that ministry tries sync, that's MINISTRY/event/website/home/lowercase e =32777. So that's again, it's $E=32777. Every gift supports Niagara Gospel Mission's work to provide hope and help to people experiencing homelessness, addiction, and crisis throughout Niagara County. For more information about the Niagara Gospel Mission, the Niagara Gospel Country Club Leadership Program, or ways to partner with the mission, visit www.niagaragospelmission.org or call 716-205-8805. This article was contributed by Colton Lakey, L-A-C-K-E-Y. As a final brief item, blood crisis persists. Red Cross says donors needed now. August appointments are very critical to restoring the blood supply in late summer, and the dates for blood donation upcoming that are still open that may be available to you according to this broadcast would be the 18th of August and the 19th, 20th, and 24th. The dates are with the opening times of 1 to 6 p.m., 8 a.m. to noon, and 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from current issues of the Niagara Gazette. We read from the Gazette every Saturday at 11 a.m. Your reader has been Rick Lawrence. Thank you very much for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have a reading of the Dunkirk Observer. Following that at 1 o'clock, we have a reading of some of our Northtown Bee papers, including Amherst, Clarence, Cheektowaga, Lancaster, and Depew. And then at 2 o'clock, we have the Southtown Bees, which includes Orchard Park, the Hamburg Sun, the East Aurora, and West Seneca papers. Stay with us for these readings and more. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Radio Reading broadcasts daily readings 24 hours a day of newspapers, magazines, and books to people who are blind or have a print disability and are provided reading radios. Radio Reading's broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. From broadcast studios at 1199 Harlem Road, Radio Reading continues our almost 40-year tradition of award-winning service. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call 716-821-5555. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes